Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar that is Franchise Development Proposal, which is presented by Ken Rostron and Tahir Javed Kashif, who is the CEO of Seleni Biz. And about Ken Rostron, he is the co-founder and the senior partner with the franchise company. So let's begin our presentation today, and Ken Rostron would be taking the stage and would be presenting his insights about franchising the business, and then we would have a detailed Q&A session with Tahir Javed Kashif, who is the CEO of Seleni Biz. So Ken, I'm giving you the stage now.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to the franchise company. My name's Ken Rostron, and I'm one of the partners in the franchise company. I'm going to explain how we would help you to develop a franchise model from your business. We'll look at the benefits of franchising and the income streams that are generated and the approach that we have been using successfully for some years. Let me tell you a little bit about the franchise company's background. Extensive experience, having been established in 1991, and we're members of the British Franchise Association. The stage approach that we operate creates minimal risk for clients because we won't move on from stage 1 to stage 2 until it's been approved and everything's agreed. And there is a logical approach, which is financial systems and then recruitment. We like to get hands-on with our clients' projects and for a while would become part of your management team. So far as connections are concerned, we do have connections with accountants and lawyers that we will develop, and that will benefit clients. Recruitment experience, we've helped on numerous development projects and brought on over 400 franchisees for clients over the years, and we've developed a wide range of franchise models, retail, children's activities, food, quite a lot. And we'll be sharing that experience now with the team in Dubai and with Tahir. We always try to make sure that our fees represent good value, and that certainly will continue in the cooperation we have with Tahir in Dubai. So the benefits of franchising your business: increased brand coverage and value, because as the franchise network develops, the brand awareness increases, and alongside that, so does the sales, and also not just the sales of the product and service, but also the sales of the franchise. There is an increased capital value for the franchisor and the franchisee. The franchisor's value is generated by developing the network, because each franchise agreement is worth significant amount of money, and the franchisee in turn benefits from that group brand. There's a saying with franchising that you're in business for yourself, not by yourself, and therefore there is a value for the franchisee. Since the franchisees fund the startup, then that reduces the capital investment needed usually from the franchisor, and the franchisees are responsible for the day-to-day operation, delivering the product or service, dealing with staff, all of those sort of things, promoting the service or product range is another area that the franchisee will be responsible for. So they're your representative and they present your brand. So a well-constructed and managed franchise operation would usually be more efficient and more valuable than a company-owned operation. This is just demonstrating the stages of franchise development. To begin with, we want to prove the viability, which we do via a business review document. We then look to design the franchise model, which is the financial modeling for the franchisee and the franchisor. We then move on to complete the key tasks and documents that you need to manage and monitor the franchise network. The key documents are the operating manual and the franchise agreement. But there are other supporting systems and documents that we'll come on to. We would then want to pilot the franchise to test the training, to test the launch, and just to make sure that the recruitment process, which is another important element, is working satisfactorily and bringing on board the right profile of franchisee. And once that's been proven, which usually can be done after 3 or 4 franchisees have been recruited, you can then expand at a far faster pace. So the project objectives: to develop a commercially attractive franchise model, which also must represent a good investment for the franchisee, which is where the financial modeling at the start that I mentioned earlier comes in. So we want to produce a financial model that demonstrates the viability and the attractiveness of the proposition and the franchise model. And we want to look at the recruitment methods, the way that the franchise network would be supported in the beginning when the franchisee first starts, and then ongoing. We want to prepare systems and procedures that will enable you as the franchisor to manage and monitor the performance of the network. That's often done through the systems and the accounting, so that the franchisor is receiving consistent information on the key performance indicators on a regular basis from franchisees. And if they're all using the same system, the comparisons can be very valuable to both the franchisor and the franchisee. We want to assist with launching the franchise opportunity into the marketplace and helping with the recruitment process to ensure that we recruit the profile of franchisee that we're looking for. Return on your investment, clearly important. So it mentions here in the slide that it's cost neutral, because every franchisee will pay a franchise package fee to the franchisor, and that franchise package fee will include a surplus, a contribution, for want of a better description, toward the franchisor's initial investment in the consultancy and the legal and any other costs to set up the franchise opportunity. The trademark registration would spring to mind. That surplus is something that we will work with you on and agree and discuss, but that surplus after 3 or 4 franchisees will usually cover the entire cost, the investment that you've made, as I mentioned a moment ago, in the consultancy, legal and possibly intellectual property side. The ongoing income streams are the most important, and they also represent a great degree of the value as the network moves on, and the franchise brand takes on a far greater value. So there's usually a management fee and a marketing fee. There can be a percentage or a fixed fee. It can be a mixture of both. There can also be digital support fee, an admin fee, all modest but nonetheless regular income. And then the other common, especially with some of the retail and the food franchise, are ongoing supply of goods and services to the franchisee by the franchisor, either directly or as a nominated supplier. So the franchise modelling. Once we've got the initial business information that I mentioned, which comes from the business review document, we really can begin to put the franchise model together. We would start with the package that I mentioned a moment ago, the startup package that the franchisor provides to every franchisee. It would include, for example, induction training, territory, launch. There's usually a launch cost to promoting and launching the franchise when it first opens, and the franchisor needs to be in control of that. There is various other elements of the startup package that will relate specifically to your franchise model and which we will create. Having identified the products and services that need to be provided to new franchisees, we would then go on to look at the other assets that they would need to buy, maybe acquisition of premises, equipment, so that we come to a total investment figure that the franchisee will have to invest to replicate your franchise model. We would then move on to prepare a 2 or 3 year forecast of the performance of the business. So what would the sales performance look like? What would the various products generate? So that we can identify how the franchisee would get their investment back over a 2 to 3 year period. And we prepare operating forecasts that show income and expenditure and would, as I've said, provide the franchisee with an indication of when they would get their investment back and when they would break even. Those financial forecasts are a very important exercise. And along with it, we'd establish the primary role, responsibility and obligations of both the franchisee and the franchisor. We'd look at the criteria for territories, and that would give us the franchise model that we were going to promote and launch into the marketplace. And then we would move on to the other tasks and documents. The franchise agreement I mentioned is one of the important documents. The franchise agreement and the operating manual work very, very much together. But we would prepare a detailed briefing document because during the business review exercise, we would have accumulated a lot of detailed information about how you want the business to operate, what the obligations and responsibilities of the franchisee should be. And so that briefing document would come to you first to be approved,